Dear Journal, Atlanta, 1996. Some men want a partner, others want an audience. This is the story of how I learned the difference. I was 19 years old, and I thought I knew exactly how my life was going to turn out. I had spent my entire life in Catholic school, 12 years of uniforms, religion classes, and teachers who knew my parents. I was the kind of girl who followed the rules. I wasn't sneaking out. I wasn't chasing boys. And I wasn't sitting around dreaming about getting married. I was focused, driven, certain of who I was. Until I met Holden. Holden isn't his real name. But if you've ever met a college athlete in the 1990s, you know exactly who Holden was. Tall, confident, charming, the kind of man who walks into a room and immediately becomes the center of it. And the thing that made him even more dangerous was that he seemed interested in me. Me, the sheltered Catholic girl who barely knew how to flirt. Looking back now, I laugh. I was bringing Bible study energy into a relationship with a college basketball player. What could possibly go wrong? At first, everything felt magical. I attended his games. I rearranged my entire schedule around him. I even skipped classes. Now, let me tell you something. If you had told my high school teachers that I would skip class for a man, they would have laughed in your face. But that is what first love does. It makes you do things that don't even sound like you. Everything became about him. His games, his schedule, his friends, his future. I didn't realize it then, but little by little, I was building my life around someone else's dreams. And that is dangerous, especially when you're 19. The relationship lasted almost 2 years. 2 years feels like forever when you're that age. 2 years feels like a commitment. 2 years feels like certainty. At least, it did to me. Then one afternoon, my phone rang. If you're under 40, you may not appreciate how terrifying a random phone call used to be. There was no caller ID, no text message, no warning, just a ringing phone and a feeling in your stomach. I answered. A woman's voice was on the other end. I had never heard her before. She didn't introduce herself. She didn't ease into the conversation. She got straight to the point. She told me she was dating Holden. I stood there, completely frozen. I thought it had to be some kind of joke. Surely she had the wrong number. Surely there had been some misunderstanding. Then she started sharing details. Details only someone close to him would know. And I realized she wasn't calling to get information. She was calling to deliver a message. He's moved on, but she wasn't interested in one sentence. She wanted me to know she had won. She wanted me to know she was everything I wasn't. More experienced, more confident, more worldly. At 19 years old, every single word felt like a knife. Not because I wanted to compete with her, but because she introduced me to an insecurity I didn't even know I had. Before that phone call, I had never once questioned whether I was enough. After it, I questioned everything. Was I too sheltered? Too innocent? Too inexperienced? Too boring? He eventually left Atlanta, and I never saw him again. Not once. No reunion, no apology, no chance encounter. Nothing. For years, I thought the heartbreak came from losing him. But that's not what actually hurt. What hurt was losing the version of myself that existed before that phone call. The girl who believed love was simple. The girl who thought being a good person guaranteed good outcomes. The girl who believed life followed rules. So I decided I needed to reinvent myself. I told myself what I really needed was experience. That's when I met a man almost 10 years older than me. And let me tell you something. When you're young, age looks like wisdom. Age looks like stability. Age looks like confidence. What you don't realize is that age is just age. Sometimes an older man is mature. Sometimes he's simply older. He had a career. He had money. He knew exactly where he was going in life. After a college athlete whose future felt uncertain, This seemed like a major upgrade, except he didn't want a partner. He wanted an accessory, a beautiful young woman on his arm, so everyone could admire his success. And for a while, I confused attention with affection. A lot of us do. Then one day, we got into an argument while driving through Atlanta. I don't even remember what it was about. Isn't that funny? The things that change your life are rarely about the argument itself. They're about what the argument reveals. In the middle of that fight, he pulled over and he told me to get out. Get out! Just like that. On the side of the road in Atlanta. By myself, I sat there thinking, this cannot be happening. This man has lost his mind. And then another thought crossed it. What am I doing here? Not on the side of the road, in this relationship. What am I doing? Trying this hard? To convince someone to value me? I found my way home. And eventually, I made my way back to New Orleans. And for the first time in a long time, I started listening to myself. Of course, once he realized what he'd done, he suddenly became very interested in fixing things. Funny how that works? The same man who put me out of his car couldn't stop calling, couldn't stop showing up, couldn't stop apologizing. He parked outside my house. He waited for me. He tried everything, but something had changed. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of losing somebody. I was more afraid of losing myself. So I ended it completely. For years, I thought those relationships were failures. I thought Holden was the lesson. Then I thought the older man was the lesson. Now that I'm older, I realize neither one of them was the lesson. The lesson was me. Love isn't supposed to require you to abandon yourself. It's not supposed to cost you your peace. It's not supposed to make you feel like you're constantly auditioning for a role. The right people don't require you to become someone else, to earn their affection. And the wrong people will have you changing everything about yourself, while they change absolutely nothing. When I think about that young girl now, I don't feel embarrassed for her. I feel protective of her because she didn't know yet. She didn't know that confidence would eventually matter more than beauty. She didn't know that boundaries would matter more than attention. She didn't know that being chosen and being valued are two completely different things. But most importantly, she didn't know that one day she'd look back and realize those heartbreaks weren't the end of her story. They were just the beginning. And thank God for that.